folks. This is Rabble Rousing Rich Bergeron.
Johnny Benicaro.
And Psychic Tom Vedder. Crystal ball ready to go.
All right, Tom. Should have predicted that little crash we just experienced. Anyway. As I was saying, we got rudely interrupted by the computer crashing. I finally threw in the towel last night, and I watched Creed 2, and I was pleasantly surprised. I mean, some of the acting wasn't great. Like, I thought the chemistry between Michael B. Jordan and the girlfriend there was kind of iffy at some scenes, and it's like, I don't know, some of that could have been done better. But for the most part, I was most impressed with Rocky's character. Sylvester Stallone did great. And just going back to that original, Rocky IV movie, which is my favorite of all time. Still, I think.
What I really like, and being there, and seeing a lot of the guys on set was pretty cool. I liked how they humanized the Drago character, especially at the end.
Yeah.
Big Dylan but also you were saying a little bit ago, some of the things you liked with Sylvester Stallone Rocky character is he was more down on the earth than you've ever seen him before. And I think part of it was like, it shows his conscience really weighing on him because of what happened, 30 years or so prior with Apollo's death. And he goes, there was supposed to be me in there that night with Drago before Apollo. But Apollo stepped in for me as a substitute, basically, and he died because of me. I could have thrown it down, but I didn't. And, and that's one of the great debates of, the movie. Even the first movie, when he first meets Adonis Creed. And he's like, I'm going to stop that fight. I didn't do it. And he goes, and Adonis goes, maybe you did exactly what he wanted you to do. Because maybe he went out, that was the way he was supposed to go. And he's like, no, I think he'd rather be alive, meeting you, watching you grow up. And then you have the scene with his, Adonis Creed's mother, played by Felicia Rashad. And, she doesn't agree with him taking the fight, but she's like, hey, you're a grown man. He goes, but at the same time, I hope you are here to raise your child like your father basically wasn't because he died. So you have those going into the movie. I knew there was a scene where, let's say that spoiling too much, Victor Drago loses the first fight with Adonis Creed by disqualification because aside from being on set for his Adonis's wing fight over Stuntman Wheeler, I was there for the quick Drago knockout between the two Adonis Creed fights. And the interview where he's like, what loss? He's got to fight me again. He's a coward and that. So seeing how they put that all together was pretty impressive. But you're right. It was
well thought out too. I mean, like they took like every angle of that situation of like a fighter being injured and trying to recover and like trying to figure out why he lost and going back and right back to the drawing board in a different environment, different place altogether.
Yeah.
And you see that a lot more with MMA fighters. They go to a different gym. They just clear ahead of that last place where they lost their fight because they trained there or something, or they'll go with different people the next time. And it makes a difference when it shows that dynamic where if you have a good trainer that you click with and he has history with your family, obviously it's going to work out in that situation if you are that kind of athlete. The thing is, I was most surprised at is like the size of that dude compared to friggin' Michael B. Jordan, who got jacked at the end, obviously, but he put on more muscle for the end part of it. But man, that dude is still jacked and huge.
Muggio that played Girl was only a matter of 20 feet from me on the set the second day, and the Dolph Lundgren walked right by me, and it was like, wow, this is the guy that I was afraid of as a kid,
Yeah.
And I'm looking at him, and I'm like, and this is like, wow, you know.
Yeah.
You know.
He was a beast.
Yeah, big dude. And they were saying like a lot of his workouts in the movie, which were no trick filming, no CGI, none of that. It was literally him doing the push-ups with the battle ropes and, you know, doing all that crazy.
Yeah. The only thing I didn't like about his character was he only had that one scene where he spoke, and it was Russian, and that was it. Like,
yeah, it really didn't say a whole lot.
I wish he would have done like more of the gimmicky kind of good stuff that worked in the Rocky IV, where he was just like, "I will break you," you know, stuff like that. You know, limited English, and he didn't even like say anything in English. It's like, you know, you're in Hollywood, buddy. Learn the language.
Yeah. I guess I think were there a few things that he said? No, because I'm thinking because one thing was I think from one of the trailers, one of the behind the scenes at the weigh-in. So,
yeah. But it's good. I mean, it's really good. I almost say it's like the best modern Rocky movie. Like, you know, it was definitely better than the first Creed, I think, for sure. For some reason, I just like this one better.
You know, both opinions on that. So.
But anyway, we have a buttload of stuff to cover. Real boxing. Gotta take a break from Hollywood for a minute.
We're staying at the Luxor, by the way.
Yeah, I saw that.
I got a really good deal on it.
You know what's funny? The first time I went to Vegas for Zions, I walked all the way down to the end of the strip, and it was off-season. It was like October, and there was one of them dust storms sweeping through. It was just murky and ugly. So I walked all the way down to the end of the strip where Luxor is, and I actually started pyramid. You know? That's crazy. Because the Egyptians supposedly worshipped black cats, you know, and there's cats all over the friggin' property of the Luxor. The statues of cats, you know, all decorated and all that shit. So it's just funny. And I didn't even really go into the Luxor until the very last time I was in Vegas. Like the last month I was there. I did the whole strip walk with a girl that I went to school with. Came out there. Yeah, so I got to see. I didn't see any of the rooms. The rooms actually are kind of weird. I heard they've got like slanted walls and stuff because the structure is actually like a pyramid. So it'll be interesting, I bet. But I say that the what was it? The Stratosphere when I was there. And that's cool because there's so much shit there. That's on the upper side of the strip. That's like right when you turn in, and there's the Welcome to Las Vegas sign that everybody takes pictures of. And there's like walking distance stores and casino right downstairs. They used one deck of cards too at the blackjack tables, which I thought was weird. Instead of a shoe, they'd use one deck of cards at a time. So I was like, well, I can count cards in my sleep if I watch this close enough. But I never really lost at that table. I never was down money. I gambled like 4 or 5 times, and I never left that table down money. So that was cool. But yeah, you'll have fun out there. I think that Box Fan Expo is going on too. I don't know how long you're going to be there. But that's at the convention center. If you can get into that, I might be able to get you in for free. Even though I haven't published any of their stories this year. They send me press releases for every single damn person who's going to show up. So I got to the point where I was just like, I'm not publishing these anymore. But that's going on out there. Also, on that front, there's going to be a documentary series LeBron James is involved in called, I guess I don't know what it's called yet, but it's going to be about Canelo Alvarez and Daniel Jacobs fighting, and it's going to be co-promoted or co-produced with DAZN, and it's LeBron James and his partner Maverick Carter. Great name. First episode is going to debut April 23rd on Uninterrupted. I guess that's that's his channel. It's called Uninterrupted. And on DAZN, and then on Univision, NBC Sports Network, and a group of regional networks that includes MSG. So yeah, they've obviously made a big deal with Alvarez, $365 million. So they want to obviously get this fight in particular. 360 degrees, all kinds of footage. You know, they want to make every penny they can off this guy. So the AZN, have you gotten that one yet, Tony? I know you got the ESPN Plus.
I have not gotten it yet. You figure I'll just wait until like one of the fights go on sale, and that way I'm not paying for it when there's nothing on.
Right. Jarrell Miller in the news. Got a bad doping test. Screwed up a big opportunity for himself. Anthony Joshua fight pretty much off. His license, Miller's license, has not been approved for the fight. So, yeah, New York State Athletic Commission denied it. And I don't think it's happening. Miller's camp did request a B sample, as they always do. If that sample somehow comes back negative, that's the only way the fight will be back on. ESPN has reported that he tested positive for the banned substance GW1516, which boosts endurance and helps athletes burn fat. I never heard of this. Where do I get some? No, I'm kidding. But the co-promoter, Dmitry Salita, said the 30-year-old boxer will still train while the team seeks more information. So we'll see. And in February, ironically enough, it was Miller who was accusing Joshua of using therapeutic use exemptions to take testosterone that helped him build muscle. And that's a charge that Joshua's camp has denied. Pretty good stuff there. I don't know if you heard of a guy named Burt Watson, Tony. You heard of that guy?
I don't think so.
No. He managed a guy that you like a lot. Boxer. First name Joe. Down goes Joe Frazier.
Nice.
Burt Watson. He was manager of Joe Frazier, and he's the site coordinator for some of the biggest boxing and mixed martial arts events in history. And he was once described by UFC commentator Joe Rogan as the babysitter to the stars. Now he's starting his own promotion. It's called We Rollin' MMA. He says he wants to give fans a world-class product, and preparing each fighter for the bright lights to the next level is what I do. A combination of competitive fights and great fan support is the only way to get that done. I'm excited to start this new chapter. And it's going to have its first event Saturday, June 15th at Hard Rock Event Center in Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Hollywood. It's going to be Burt Watson Promotions. It's going to be the promoter, and it's going to be called We Rollin' MMA, and not even close to pronounced like you think it is, or spelled, I should say. So we'll see. Obviously, this guy's got some experience working with fighters, so he should have their best interests in mind, too. And it's interesting to see some of these little promotions pop up that aren't owned by the UFC themselves.
Was he the guy that would walk alongside the UFC fighters back in the dressing room as they're going toward the cage and yelled at "We Rollin'"? That guy?
He must be. I mean, if that's his catchphrase for the promotion.
Yeah.
So he's a retired member of the United States Marine Corps, and his love affair with combat sports began when he became the longtime manager of his friend, boxing Hall of Famer Joe Frazier, and has worked behind the scenes with icons of boxing and mixed martial arts. He's respected throughout the industry for his knowledge and attention to detail. So maybe who is Joe Frazier's manager after his boxing career. That's why you don't recognize the name, Tony. But you might have met him when you met Joe. Or you might have seen him.
Actually, dedication a couple years ago.
Yeah. So you probably saw him. Also, I haven't got a chance to read it, but Tom, you'd probably be interested in this. I got an MMA alert in my Google alerts, and there's an article on Forbes.com called "The Expenses of Being a Professional Cage Fighter," and just published yesterday. So I'm pretty sure that's going to open some eyes for some people. And we had the guy from boxing, Adrian. I forget his last name, but I remember it was Adrian, his first name. Adrian Clark. He was talking about the expenses of being a professional boxer and all the stuff that comes out. Everybody thinks, oh yeah, you're $1 million paydays, but hey, well, this comes out, that comes out, taxes, promoters, licensing fees, travel, all that stuff comes out. So I'm sure it's going to open some people's eyes to the idea of maybe we should get rid of this independent contractor thing and have some of these organizations start footing some of these bills for these guys. But yeah. Burt Watson. And we had some pretty good fights last week. I didn't get to see the boxing, but I understand that pretty much went as we predicted. As far as the big fights, Claressa Shields dominated. Obviously, Lomachenko.
Friday night, which was Lomachenko.
Yeah.
And did what he had to do. I think it was first round. And they were talking about stopping it in the third. I mean, he was really taking it to Anthony Crolla. And then he had him on the ropes, basically standing 8 count because the ropes were keeping Crolla up. And then Lomachenko, not being a one-punch knockout guy, blasted him with a right hook, and I mean, put him down and out.
One you might not have heard of last week, too, I just want to mention real quick. I've got it in front of me. Sam Solomon, old guy, old dude. 45-14-1 was his record going in, so he gets his 46th win over a guy named Mark Lucas, who was 9-1, and he got a title, the WBF World Middleweight title. World Boxing Foundation. So just thought I'd mention that while it's in front of me. But go ahead, you were going to say something else, Tony?
No. I was going to say, you had the Claressa Shields fight, which he also went pretty much, I mean, as expected from what we predicted.
Right. And I really haven't seen much of her fight, so I mean, I didn't know which way to go, but obviously she has shown that she can dominate, and that's a lot of belts she had on her in the post-fight picture, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
A lot of belts. We also had Tommy Carpensi losing to Gilberto Ramirez on that Lomachenko card, and he improves to 40-0 as a light heavyweight, so probably going to see some big fights coming his way.
Yeah, he held known for the first round, but you could see body shot hurt him, and like 3 or 4 rounds, he retired on the stool with a broken rib.
Ooh. And we had Arnold Barboza Jr. improving to 21-0 over Mike Alvarado. So it was Mike came in with a 40-4 record.
A lot of people have posted online and Facebook saying that Alvarado is players was as good as the fighter as he was, as exciting as the fighter as he was. He needs to retire because of just the terrible beatings he's taken.
Right. Well, age and experience isn't always good if you have too much of it. Either one. So you got to kind of have a happy medium.
Yeah, true.
Oh, look at this guy's record. This is Saturday's fight coming up. We've got this guy is just first fight on the list, but I don't know where the heck he got this record. Heavyweight Gonzalo Omar Basil. He is 73-12, fighting for the vacant South American heavyweight title. This is in Argentina. He's fighting Julio Enrique Cuellar Cabrera, who is 13-6. Talk about experience. 73-12, and he had won every one of his last 6 fights until the last one. Lost the last one. I got to click on his record now. I'm too curious. Gonzalo. That's a great name. I'm sure his nickname is Gonzo. His nickname's probably Gonzo. Alright, I know we got some big fights this week. Pretty sure Amir Khan is fighting Terrence Crawford this week.
Well, talk about the Amir Khan Terrence Crawford fight. One of the best and most candid fight analysis breakdowns that I had a chance to read was our good friend Iceman John Scully. And Iceman, as I said a little bit ago, he's a guy you could literally just sit there and just box him. You know, he's been a world title challenger. He's trained world champions. You know, but he's a guy like he breaks down. Honestly, he's funny, but he's very knowledgeable. And his take on this fight, he goes, Khan has the athletic ability and the speed to make it interesting for a few rounds. And I agree with that. But he said also Terrence Crawford is a guy that as he picks up momentum, he gets more dangerous as the fight goes on. I also agree with that. If you go back, one of the most prevalent examples of that was his fight with Yuriorkis Gamboa when he really exploded on the scene. Gamboa was really giving him trouble early, and then Crawford switched to southpaw, started wearing him down, ended up knocking him down like 6 times. When he fought my friend Hank Lundy won the first round, and then Crawford started building momentum, until he knocked Lundy out in the 5th. Iceman says he can go one of 2 ways here. Both ways he predicts as Terrence Crawford winning the fight. One would be, Khan very competitive early, given a few rough moments, but his propensity to get drawn into firefights while he has a shaky defense and weak chin would be his downfall. And that would lead to a mid-round stoppage. His other analysis, once again, has Khan very competitive early, given a few scary moments, and then Crawford taking over in the middle rounds and winning a decision down the road. A very clear decision, comfortable decision, where he dominates really the second half. Towards his first analysis of a middle round stoppage, maybe around 6, 7, 8 rounds.
Well, I was wrong about Gonzalo. Sorry. You guys got to see this guy. I'm going to send you his picture of his box rep profile. Wow. Crazy looking dude. You think Mike Tyson has some face tattoos? His last loss wasn't to anybody that is a cheap date, as Tom would say. Robert Helenius. The last loss, and he's been mauling people ever since. It was a TKO. Robert Haynes was coming in at 23-1 back in 2016, and he had 3 losses in a row back in 2014. That was a bad year for him. Started out well, a couple wins, but bad year. Crazy record. Also, I want to mention this guy because he's coming up on a milestone. It's not really the mismatch of the week, but this guy is the opponent of the week. Let's put it that way. From the UK, this card. Let me find him. All right, here he is. Yes. He is fighting a guy named Nathan Halton, super middleweight, middle of the card. Nathan is 2-3-1. But Lewis Van Poach, Poetsch, Poach. He is coming in at a whopping 8 wins to go with 99 losses and 1 draw. So he's going for a big number, hundo.
Ah, 1 draw.
And Nathan will go to 500, 500, 3-3 if he gets the win. And Lewis will get his 100th loss. Are we rooting?
Stakes are enormous.
Yeah. Are we rooting for him to get it or upset? A 9th win. We'll see.
Well, what are the odds? What does Las Vegas say?
I don't know. I don't even know if they have odds on that.
What does London say? I'm sure that's where they have their odds makers. What are the odds, or do we have odds?
I don't know. I'm sure that the website that has everything, that Paddy Power, probably has something. Anyway, the bigger fight than the Amir Khan fight this weekend is going to be on free TV, Fox Sports 1. Not really free, but Danny Garcia versus Adrian Granados. Big welterweight match up there. Danny comes in at 34-2. Granados 20 wins, 6 losses, and 2 draws. And this one's for the WBC Silver welterweight title, which is vacant. That's up for grabs there. And then the co-main event, Ricardo Espinoza Franco, coming in at 23-2, fighting John Riel Casimiro, who is 26-4. And then super bantamweights. Oh, that one's for the interim WBO World Bantamweight title, by the way. And we got Brandon Figueroa coming in at 18-0, fighting Jan Frez Parejo, who is 22-3-1 for the interim World Boxing Association World Super Bantamweight title. And if that ain't enough, we got a couple more big ones. 3 more we'll mention. Andy Ruiz Jr. at heavyweight, 31-1 is his record, fighting Alexander Dimitrenko, 41-4. That should be a good one. And we got middleweights, Jorge Cota. Yeah. Jorge Cota coming in at 28-2. Jason Rosario is his opponent, 18-1-1. Great matchup there. And then we've got Alfredo Angulo, 24-7, fighting Evert Bravo, who's 24-9-1. And let's go back down to that card. Oh. Also, down in Fort Washington, Maryland, I thought I mentioned this one, middleweight, Dusty Hernandez Harrison leading the bill here. He's 31-0-1, fighting Fred Jenkins Jr., who's just a lowly 10-5. If he didn't have a winning record, that would be our mismatch of the week. Our mismatch of the week is probably on this card, though, and it's got some good names, so we'll go with it. Roger Belch is the favorite, coming in at 12-1 at lightweight. He's fighting Darrell Harris, who comes in at 1-11-1. So ones are wild for him. Nutty. So anyway, I don't know what channel Crawford versus Khan is going to be on, but apparently BoxRec is saying it's only Panama Telemetro Channel 13.
Crawford Khan is
pay-per-view. Okay.
I hope pay-per-view, so I'll stick to the Danny Garcia fight.
So it's Terrence Crawford coming in at 34-0, and Amir Khan looking for number 34 in wins, but he also has 4 losses to go with his 33 wins, and it's for the WBO World Welterweight title. And then we have Teofimo Lopez coming in at lightweight, undefeated, 12-0, fighting Edis Tatley, who is 31-2 Yeah, I don't really. I think I've seen Teofimo Lopez, but I don't think I've seen his Tatley guy.
I my Lopez actually has got his name out there. He had a couple impressive knockouts back to back, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in one fight, he hit the guy, and he basically the guy was going down, ran up, and made certain gestures. One fight at the card was about a one-swing punch guy went he's first down, first round, out. Second fight, I don't remember the guy's name. He was, finishing the guy off. He already had him down. He had him hurt. And the final volley punches when the fighter went down, the big left hook, he ran up, like I said, made a very insulting gesture. So the guy's corner got in a brawl nearly broke out.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, let's hope that doesn't happen there. Mm-mm. We also have Shakur Stevenson at featherweight coming in 10-0, fighting Christopher Diaz, who's 24-1. And then lightweights Felix Verdejo, 24-1, fighting Brian Vasquez, who's 37-3. Two of those three in his last 6 fights. And this isn't even worth mentioning for a fight, but this guy's got a great name. Dennis Knife Chief, 12-9-1. He's fighting for a title too. Vacant American Boxing Federation USA welterweight title, and he's fighting a guy who's undefeated, Richard Hicks, 11-0-1. It's Hicks versus Knife. The Knife Chief.
Knife Chief, huh?
It must be Indian. Native American, sorry. From Texas. Dennis Knife Chief. So you've heard of bringing a knife to a gunfight. Now he's going to bring a knife to a boxing match. Alright. So. Oh. I saw this guy's name, Hector Coronado. I thought it was Hector Camacho. Okay.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I saw this.
I've seen it at least.
Actually, I was just searching through my email the other day, and or not my email, but Googling stuff, and came across our interview from right after Hector Sr. died. Got shot in a cocaine deal gone bad or something.
I remember we gave our condolences to Hector Jr.
Yeah. And that was our most listened to interview on Blog Talk Radio because it just went wild. There was like one article about it, and it was like 22,000 listens. I was like, whoa! That was in like the first week. Probably way more now. I haven't gone back to look at them. But we got a couple candidates for Jesus Fight of the Week before we go on to MMA. We got Jesus Angulo fighting Hector Coronado, who is 1-0. And Jesus is going to need a miracle, as always. His record is not as good.
Well, he's going to do it, I guess.
Yeah.
Since it's Easter.
And where's the other one? Jesus Angulo. Yeah, he is 4-12, Jesus Angulo. There's another Jesus I just saw him. Where'd he go? Oh, we lost Jesus. Alright. Well, we'll forget about that one then. One Jesus fight is enough. So, we also have UFC 236 to talk about. A crazy, crazy, crazy card. And main event there, we'll just start with that. Unreal. We had Kelvin Gastelum coming in, and the kid does not have the physique that you would expect for a guy to be coming in that confident. Like, he just looks like a run-of-the-mill, average-type physique when you look at him. But, my God, the confidence that kid had coming into the cage. He looked pissed, too. And, boy, he put quite the effort in, even though it was a losing effort. And I really thought it should have been stopped. Mark Goddard has another controversial fight, I guess, but I thought it should have been stopped at the end. Even though he was, showing a lot of heart. He took a lot of unnecessary punishment in the last few seconds. But what a war, I'll tell you. Those guys beat the crap out of each other. I'm sure you saw it, Tom, right?
Yeah, even going into the last round.
Yeah.
And then Gastelum ran out of gas.
Yeah, and he was really, one of the only guys that I underestimated on that first the season of The Ultimate Fighter, where he showed up and he just had like a 4-0 record or something like that at that point. And he turned out to be one of the most talented fighters the UFC has ever had. But he just had kind of some weight issues here and there. Couldn't make weight for the life of him a few times. And got on the bad side of Dana White. But through all this time, he's still been a great fighter. And he's been thrown in against real wolves. But this time it was, this guy coming right off a win against Anderson Silva. And he really had a chip on his shoulder, I think, coming in. He was really like, you know what? I'm going to show some people that this guy is not as good as I think he is, even if I lose. I don't think he thought he was going to lose, but, that had to be his mindset at the end. Even if I'm going to not get this on points, I'm going to show this friggin' crowd that this guy has hold. And such an unorthodox striker, too. It just goes against everything that they teach you in boxing, how he throws punches, where he doesn't plant his feet, he just leaps and bam! And, if he had some more legitimate power behind some of those, if he didn't have the reach issues, where he had to lurch in and leave himself open a lot to land punches, he definitely could have knocked Adesanya out a few times. But, once he hit him with everything but the kitchen sink and Adesanya was still there, it was heart of the lion time, and that's where the conditioning really kicks in. The conditioning and that mentality of no quitting. But probably the best shot of that fight for me is that spinning back elbow that he nailed him with. And I'll tell you, I was surprised that Gastelum didn't go down then. He took that like a champ, I'll tell you. Whew. Dynamic stuff there, all around. And then we had Dustin Poirier going to war with Max Holloway. So we got a double bill of war here at UFC 236. And the only thing I could say before we move on from, that was the main event, Holloway versus Poirier. I was talking about the co-main event. It was such a good fight, I thought it was the main event. It was 5 rounds, because it was for the interim championship. And actually, that makes 2 champions now from Nigeria. Yeah, Israel Adesanya is from Nigeria. But the only thing I could say to Kelvin is, to check back that aggression and fight smarter next time. Even though that's hard to do against a guy that's, you really have to be aggressive to shake up early. Some of that was just being sloppy. He took a lot of hits that he would have, if he's fought a little bit smarter, he wouldn't have had to take. You just can't knock the aggression.
But you wonder now. Okay, but you wonder how he's going to adjust his game on this, because it's not like he's new.
Right. Let's see.
You know what I mean? It's been what was that? What season was it? It's been 10 years almost since he was on the show.
Yeah.
So he's going to have an uphill battle.
Yeah, maybe the other thing too we could have done. I hate to be the woulda, coulda, shoulda guy, but a lot more leg kicks from the outside would have helped him out with the reach issues that he. I mean, that was really the most punishment that he was taking was because of his reach. And once Israel figured it out that he had to strike a certain way to reach it, to get inside on him from the outside, he just figured out different movements, different ways to time him, and that was the difference in the end. That final couple rounds where he made the adjustments, and Kelvin just kept fighting the same way. And that can be the difference sometimes, especially in these 5-round fights. And conditioning obviously was huge. Neither guy was a slouch, but Israel is pretty much skin and bones. Every friggin' inch of him is muscles. So, and Gastelum didn't come in fat, but he's not chiseled whatsoever. He's just basic tight body. And obviously he fights at a high level, but it's just
and he's kind of in a weight. Yeah, he's in a weight no man's land because 170 is too light for him. 185 seems a little too heavy.
Yeah. And as I mentioned, Dustin Poirier got a crazy, incredible win over Max Holloway. Another one that might have been stopped a couple of times, but man, these guys beat the ever living crap out of each other, and ended up being Poirier getting the win. And he really did beat the crap out of Holloway. Like he really roughed him up. And as I've always said, your cockiness and hands down, it's just not going to work. And Poirier actually...
You nailed it. Yeah, you nailed that, Rich. You nailed that one in. Yeah. Right on the money.
If he didn't keep his hands up, I said he was going to lose. And, obviously he keeps his belt at the lower weight, but he's trying to prove too much. And obviously it's not going to change. He's so cocky. And you saw the friggin' gash he had. The big old half-moon gash right on the side of his friggin' eyebrow. And that's what happens. I mean, you get stitches when you don't block your face. So yeah, it was a rough go. And we'll patch him back together and he'll be back out there. But I really, really hope he does something about that hole in his game. Because, cockiness and all that might win you the fight, but when it rearranges your nose and puts holes in your face, and you really need to start thinking about not a new career, but a new method of operation. Because obviously he's got talent, but the other thing he doesn't have going for him is he doesn't have enough power. He just can't. He doesn't have that knockout punch. It's just succession of blows.
Exactly, and that's what I said last week. I said, with one of these guys is more natural and comfortable at 155.
Right.
Because I figured Dustin would be. But Max just, he was working out hard to bulk up, but he's another one that's kind of in no man's land. He's cleaned out the division at 145, so what's there back there for him? But maybe he doesn't belong at 155.
Right. So then we had Khalil Roundtree beating up on Eric Anders, and that was an example of good leg kicks working out for a guy. And Joe Rogan pretty much said, "Geez, your game plan just completely changed for the better, like night and day." And I guess he had gone to Thailand, Roundtree, to do Muay Thai training specifically for this fight, so it showed. I guess I wasn't really glued to this fight. It's kind of boring at times, but I did watch a good bit of it. And then we had Dwight Grant beating Alan Juban by split decision. I didn't see any of these fights. Nikita Krylov beating OSP, Ovince St. Preux, by rear naked choke, second round. Matt Frevola beating Jalen Turner by unanimous decision. Alexander Pantoja beating Wilson Race by TKO, 2 minutes and 58 seconds into the first. Max Griffin beat Zaylan Islam Imadiev by majority decision. Khalid Taha beat Boston Salmon. And guess what? Boston Salmon did. Flopped around like a fish 25 seconds into the fight.
What a cool name.
He lived up to it, too. Oh, it wasn't in Boston, though.
Yeah, I think that was his UFC day.
Yes, it was.
What a way to get started, huh?
Yeah, I don't think he's going to get a Sherdog picture after that one. Fourth fight of the night, Bilal Muhammad beat Curtis Millender by unanimous decision. Montel Jackson over Andre Sukumtov by also unanimous decision. Pauliano Botello beat Lauren Mueller by unanimous decision. And then the first fight of the night, Brandon Davis beat Randy Costa by rear naked choke submission. And we do have a fight coming up this weekend, UFC Fight Night 149, I want to say. I'll figure it out in a second here. 149, Alistair Overeem versus Alexei Olenek.
Yeah, this is for Russia. How about that?
Yeah.
That's why it starts at 10 o'clock Saturday morning.
Yep. Wow. Stoner's going to get up early. It's 4:20.
Yeah.
Over in Russia. And it's surprising to me that they didn't have Khabib fighting on this card, even if it was just a pushover fight. You know, they should have been able to arrange that. Maybe you don't like St. Petersburg, but there are a lot of Russians on this card. Go figure. Alistair, obviously not Russian, but he's from the region, from the Netherlands, pretty close by. 44 wins, 17 losses, going in against Alexei Olenek, who has 57 wins and 11 losses and one drop. Now, is this the guy with that choke move? That special choke move he does?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so if he gets a hold of Alistair, that's pretty much done. He's so good at this one choke. So we'll see. But Alistair obviously needs to do what he does best, which is striking and kickboxing. And staying off his back. Anyway, co-main event. Islam Makhachev, who is 16-1, fighting Arman Sarukian, who is 13-1. And I should have a disclaimer here, because I'm going to butcher almost every name on this card. It's ninth fight of the night. Ivan Shaturkov, who is 15-1, fighting Devin Clark, who's 9-3. That one's easy. The Happy Warrior is also on this card. Roxanne Modafferi. She is 22-15, fighting Antonina Shevchenko, who is 7-0. The other Shevchenko in the UFC is her sister, I believe. Fighting sisters. Krzysztof Jotko, 19-4, fighting Alan Amadovsky, who's 8-0. Movsar Evloev, who is 10-0, fighting Sung Woo Choi, who's 7-1. And we got another guy with a lot of experience, Kita Nakamura, who is 34-9-2, fighting Sultan Aliyev, who is 14-3. Alexander Yakovlev, 23-8, with one draw, fighting Alex da Silva Coelho, who was 20-1. Then we have Marcin Tybura, 17-4, fighting Shamil Abdurakhimov, who is 19-4. Now this guy's got it. These two both some names. I'm gonna have to go slow. We got Gadzhim Urad Antigulov. He is 20-5, fighting Michael Alexei Suk. I don't know. He is 13-2, and that is a handful for a name. Then first fight of the night, Magomed Mustafayev, who is 13-2, fighting Rafael Fiziev, who is 6-0. Man, Russian, not easy. Anyway, we had another couple stories that I wanted to mention that happened earlier in the week. One was about a fighter, mixed martial arts fighter, who had a heart attack and died after a fight. So I don't know what we're at now for sanctioned fight deaths, but believe it or not, the last one before this guy was in Massachusetts. Rondell Clark or something like that. But it was a combination of dehydration and muscle spasms or something that caused his death. And this one was a heart attack. And he also, I think there was a positive test too for some kind of stimulant. And it wasn't in the United States, but it was a pretty big fight. If I can find it here, I will bring it up. MMA fighter Mateus Fernandez. There it is. Dies after suffering possible heart attack in the cage. And there was another story. I hope that everything's changed. I haven't tried to look for an update, but I did also hear on another front. Angela Magana had some surgery for some kind of neurotic condition that started with back pain, slipped disc, and it somehow went to her brain. And it's like a rare thing that happens. But she had some anesthesia for the surgery, and then when they tried to bring her out of it, she's in a coma. So this was just the other night I read about this. I don't know if it's still going on for her, but yeah, they're pretty much praying for her to come out of this coma down there in Puerto Rico. So, yeah, tough day for her, obviously. You know, she was actually supposed to fight on a card, and then situation come up with training, and she had to pull out and then have the surgery. And the craziest thing of that story is that her aunt died from anesthesia. And it's so rare that you even have issues with anesthesia. It's like one of the simplest things in medicine that you can do. It's very few fatalities from bad reactions. They have it down to such a science now, so pretty fluke thing for that to happen to her. So thoughts and prayers for everybody in Cyberland out there listening to us. Send them out to her. Mateus Fernandez was just 22. And it wasn't just one heart attack, it was 4 heart attacks. March 30th, he was fighting in Brazil. Remulos Fight Night Promotion in Manaus, Brazil. Fighting Obed Pereira, who looked to have won the first 2 rounds of the bout before being knocked down by punches in the 3rd round. And footage showed that Pereira landed one more strike to Fernandez's head before the referee was able to step in and call off the fight. And as the referee was attending to Fernandez, the fighter collapsed over onto his left side, and he suffered a seizure and was fighting for his life. His body stiffened, underwent spasms, and then he was rushed into the hospital. He was alive when he reached the hospital, but he was pronounced dead at 11:45 p.m. local time, just 22 years old. But you know, he also had a drug-addicted past too. He actually trained with a company called Cormando Campios. It's a social project that allowed individuals who had suffered from drug addiction to pursue mixed martial arts. So there you have it. You know, some things I guess don't mix, fighting and drugs. Now they claimed the coordinator. Project coordinator Vanderloos Cantuarius told MMA Fighting that a coroner's report showed that Fernandez died of an alleged drug overdose and not by injuries sustained during his fight. So yeah, you take a drug-addicted guy and throw him into the cage, you know, what's he going to do? Like an overdose. Jesus. He passed the drug test the day before the fight, but then ex-students later told the director there that Fernandez used drugs after the test was conducted. Unfortunately, he was considered a rising star, and that everybody at the group was in a state of shock. People said his fights were the best. He had a promising future. Such a terrible loss. And Rondell Clark was the last guy to die after an amateur match at Cage Titans 35 in Plymouth, Massachusetts on August 12, 2017. So I believe this has to be the first time we have a documented death that was, I don't know if it was what type of drug it was though. It sounds like it was a street drug. But what happened with Rondell Clark, as I mentioned, he died 3 days later after the fight. Cause of death was determined to be a rapid breakdown of muscle tissue caused by physical overexertion and dehydration. But yeah, this has got to be the first time the drugs that he was obviously using as an enhancement, I would think, if he did it the day of the fight, killed him. You know, we've heard of the drug enhancement not working and then losing the fight, but I don't think we've ever heard of it killing anybody. That's crazy. So, I don't know. Well, that's pretty much all we've got, I guess. Unless you guys got anything to add?
No. Nothing else earth-shattering, I guess. Just go watch some fights this weekend, chill out, relax, and 15 days home in Vegas.
Awesome.
Tony, what scenario can Danny Garcia lose this fight? Can you see it?
Well, yeah, I mean, Danny, it would have to be something along the lines of Danny. That's like game plan. If you go back and look at what was it Mauricio Herrera in Puerto Rico a couple years ago when he really lost that fight, he just steps up, he steps behind. Just wasn't putting his punches together. Danny sometimes will allow himself to get out punched. And even look at a few of the fights that he won. Look at the Amir Khan fight. I mean, the first 3 rounds, he was getting out punched. And then Khan stood still, tried to train hooks with a hooker, and then get knocked out. The fight against Sean Porter, he let himself get out work in there. Same thing with Steve Thurman, he let himself get out work. These are fights that, he lost for those reasons. Or the fight against Herrera, he should have lost. Go back to even when he fought Brad Judah. He was like the last few rounds. He was getting hit with some shots. So if he allows him to be flat-footed, like Granado's, throw punches, let Granado's crowd him or just outwork him. That is a scenario where Danny Garcia could conceivably lose the fight.
Yeah, I would agree. That's it. He's just got to stay in Garcia's grill. Just pressure. Just make him work.
Yeah.
Well, CM Punk back in the news. He might be still in the mix for an MMA fight. He's testing the BJJ competition waters, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So, that's in the news. Let's see what else we got. CM Punk, and I don't know if you got a chance to watch that video, Tony, of John Oliver ripping into the WWE. But CM Punk shitting his pants on live TV was a big chunk of that argument. And it was I didn't realize that had so much to do with the doctor, the situation with the doctor, that basically was like, are you going to be going to Japan or not? Like, are you going to be coming with us? Like, he kept pressuring him. And he had some injuries that he was dealing with, and he was on the drugs that make you shit your pants. So I thought it was just a fluke thing that happened, but no, it actually had something to do with medication. I don't even know if that whole story ever came out, except from court, because he did sue the doctor sued him for defamation or something. and they won. It was him and somebody else. They won. Anyway, talked about LeBron James. Here's an interesting one. I haven't got a chance to read the whole thing yet, but I did read the headline earlier. There was an Iranian female boxer who fought in France, and now she has to stay in France. Kind of reminds me of when I went out to fight for Fertitas in Vegas, and the judge said, well, now you have to go to every hearing out here. I thought it was going to be the last one. I ended up having to stay there for 2 years. But, this woman, bring it up here, Iranian female, she fought over in France, and then there was an arrest warrant issued for her in Iran. I guess because she fought without a head thing or something. Became the country's first female boxer to win an international fight. Let me find out what the arrest warrant is for. So, she was supposed to return to Tehran, where she works as a fitness trainer, following her victory Saturday over 25-year-old Anne Chauvin of France. Let's see. Gotta get past the advertising here. Find out what happened next. What's this crazy country doing now? Alright. Look at that. She was actually warned of the text of the warrant in a text message. Here it is. Yeah, go figure. In the bout, Kadim was bareheaded and wearing shorts, defying rules in Iran that female athletes should be covered in line with Islamic laws governing women's dress. So she's supposed to wear a headdress in the boxing ring? I don't think so. Kadim is accused of violating Iranian dress rules for women, while her trainer is suspected of complicity. So they issued a freaking arrest warrant. In a statement issued by the Ministry of Sports and Youth of Iran, they said she was not a registered boxer in Iran, and in the view of the Federation, all of her activities are a private act. The Federation said it strongly denied she was blocked from returning from France, so that she would be punished if she re-entered Iran. Okay, so who's telling the truth? But anyway, she's taking a stand. She says, I want to improve as much as possible, go as far as possible, and show other Iranian women that they can taste the sport. There you go. And this is a problem for more than just Iran. It's 57 Islamic countries have women who want to fight. And Iran doesn't even have a women's boxing federation, partly because the AIBA, which is the governing body for the amateurs, I believe, and the semi-professionals, amateurs, has not cooperated at all in allowing appropriate Islamic sportswear for women. Maybe you need to change what's appropriate. That's all I'm going to say. Anyway. Let's see what else we got going on. That's it. So till next week, I guess we're going to sign off and tell everybody to go watch Creed 2.
All right, well.
Yes.
Yeah, go watch it.
You might see the best supporting extra.
All right, best supporting extra. Right, gentlemen, hasta la vista, and talk soon.
Yes, sir. Thanks for stopping by.